Good morning. I'm really delighted to be here giving the keynote speech at the Outsmart 2020 hosted by Flourish Africa. I would first like to say thank you and congratulations to Apostle Mrs Folorunso Alakija for leading this transformative action at Flourish Africa. I'm really delighted to be giving the keynote speech talking really about life and business unusual. We are in very interesting times, and it's never been more important to outsmart life as well as the circumstances and the environment that we find ourselves in, which is very unique. My understanding is that a pandemic happens once in 100 years, and we happen to be experiencing it in our lifetime. And that has put us all in a very unique position because businesses, economies, institutions have changed, and life as we knew it has absolutely changed. But what hasn't changed are success principles, the fundamental principles for being successful, for standing out, for outsmarting life and the circumstances that come before us as human beings. I believe that 2020 continues to belong to a tribe of people who are able to apply extraordinary principles. And today I want to share 10 key principles that will help you outsmart 2020. It's very important to understand that if you're going to outsmart life, if you're going to be smart in life, you have to start by doing an assessment of your life. You have to start by looking at your life, looking inwards, and asking yourself, are you in a position to take advantage of the opportunities that exist at any point in time, whether it's in the economy, whether it's in your relationship, it's in an organization where you work. So I believe that the future belongs to the excellent. The future does not belong to those who are ready to settle. The future does not belong. And when I talk about the future, I'm talking about 2020, because as you know, 2020 is the beginning of a decade, and it's an incredible decade. It's a phenomenal decade. It's a decade that we all came into at the beginning of this year, 2020, with a lot of expectation, with desires, and we had dreams. Have those dreams gone away? No, the answer is no. Those dreams still exist, and we can still accomplish those dreams. But what sort of people do we have to be in 2020 in order to, as it were, outsmart the challenges that have come before us as business owners, as mothers, as spouses, as children, and as citizens of a great nation, or indeed of the world? And so I would like to share these 10 key principles that I believe are very fundamental and are useful irrespective of the economy, the times, or the environment that you find yourself. The first one I'd like to share is the principle E, which stands for envision. Envision a life of possibilities. Envision a life where you have the master key in your hands. Envision a life where you have your expectations and you recognize that those expectations are valid. I believe that if you're going to outsmart 2020, outsmart the challenges, outsmart the environment, and take advantage of opportunities, you have to go back to the drawing board. You have to go to the drawing board of asking the questions of your vision of life. I feel like the pandemic has given us all an opportunity to reimagine our lives and to ask ourselves, what are really our expectations? What is really important to you? How do you want to show up in life? What are the areas where you want to say yes in life? If you came into 2020 without that sense of clarity or expectation, guess what? The pandemic has created a unique opportunity for you to begin to reimagine and to ask yourself those very solid and valid questions so that you can be in charge of a life that is very strong, a life that is positive, a life that is possibilities-led rather than a life that is problem-driven. So many people, as a result of what has happened in the last several months, have been ground to a halt. They're stagnant. How are they going to be in a position to outsmart the world or to outsmart the situation? You cannot outsmart if you stand in the same position that you were 6 months ago. Business is now business unusual. Life is life unusual. You have to embrace it, but you cannot embrace it until you set the expectations of the rest of 2020, recognizing that 2020 really still remains the beginning of a phenomenal decade. And so what is it that I'm leaving you with this morning? The first principle, E, stands for expand your vision, enlarge your vision, enlarge your expectations of the year. Because if your expectations are little, if you do not envision a possibilities-led future, then you will remain stagnant and you will not be able to take advantage of the opportunities. The second principle I want to leave you with is the principle of X. X stands for the extra mile. The extra mile is a place that many people are unable to go. And the reason for that is that they do not want to take chances. They do not want to stretch themselves. I like to say that one of the biggest opportunities in Africa is the opportunity of mediocrity. We have mediocrity at leadership levels. We have mediocrity at institutional levels. We have mediocrity at community levels. We have mediocrity at family levels even. Now, as a woman who wants to step up and outsmart in 2020, you've got to be ready to go the extra mile. Be the person in 2020 who determines to do the hard work that others refuse to do. Be the person who makes no excuses, accepts no excuses, and tolerates nothing short of exceptional for your life and your business, or in fact, in any endeavor. You want to outsmart? Outsmart means that you are going way above and beyond everyone else. And so you've got to embrace the extra mile. The next principle I'd like to share is the letter C. C stands for creativity. It's never been more important to be creative as it is in 2020. You've got to be creative in 2020. Why is that? Because things have changed. Careers are no longer the same. Businesses are no longer the same. Economies are no longer the same. This isn't the time to say this is how we used to do it. If you work for an organization, you are not going to be that person who says, oh, I wish for the pre-COVID days. No, you are going to be that person who is going to step up and become creative. Creativity has become an incredible currency for advancement in life, in career, and in business. How do you get creative? You get creative by asking questions. You get creative by being the person who says no is not an answer. You're going to ask, how can we do this, rather than it cannot be done. You're going to be the person who says that impossible is not an option. You are also going to be the person who says yes to opportunities, even though you know you're not fully prepared for it, and then you go and do the hard work. Creativity will give you an advantage in 2020 and enable you outsmart others and the environment and the situations, and find you with your business and your life and your career way ahead of other people. And so I've shared 3 principles so far. The first was the E, which is to expand your vision, enlarge your expectations, as it were, and then X is the extra mile. C is for creativity. The next principle that I'd like to share with you is the letter E. E stands for enthusiasm. If there is any time where enthusiasm is at a low ebb, it is now. And rightfully so. You know, the environment is dramatically different, as we all know. We almost sound like broken records talking about the change that has happened dramatically, not just locally, but globally. And so the person who is able to play the enthusiasm card is going to stand out. Remember that outsmart means to outshine. It means to outplay. It means to stand out. If you are going to outsmart in your career, in your business, in your life in 2020, you've got to be that person who shows up enthusiastically. Enthusiasm will be an incredible currency for you in 2020. How do you become enthusiastic? How do you show up enthusiastically? You do that by coming up with a great attitude, even in the midst of challenges. We all have challenges. Leaders have challenges. Followers have challenges. Countries have challenges. Families have challenges. But when you recognize that opportunities exist, when you recognize that there are always options, listen, the A to Z is 26 letters. Be the person who says there is always an option. Just knowing that there is always an option will put you in a state of being enthusiastic about life and about the opportunities. So those are some of the principles that I'm sharing with you. We've shared 4 so far. And the 5th key I'd like to share with you, which I consider to be a power key for outsmarting in 2020, is the L key. The L stands for look out for opportunities, look out for possibilities. This is a year where we've got to literally put on new lenses. We've got to adapt the way that we see, the way that we look. The way that we look at opportunities in 2020 has to change. If you do not put on new lenses, if you do not start looking at things differently, if you do not literally start looking at the glass as half full rather than as half empty, you are going to have real challenges in 2020. As a matter of fact, I believe that the best way to look at 2020 is to look at it as a refillable cup. Imagine that you have a glass or a bottle of water that you can constantly pour into that cup and then put on that mindset. So the L is about looking out for opportunities. The L is about how you look at things. The L is about your perspective. I want you to put on the eyeglasses of possibilities in 2020 and beyond. Look out for possibilities, whatever you do. Otherwise, you will not be in a position to outsmart in 2020. You won't be able to advance your career. You won't be able to advance your business. You will not be able to advance in life. So looking out for opportunities will make a massive difference. In this season, there have been people who have reported actually making some incredible strides. How are they able to do that? It's because they are looking out for opportunities. It's because they are looking with new eyes. It's because they've put on literally new perspective, a perspective of possibilities, a perspective of seeing that which others do not see. So I really want to encourage you, if you're going to outsmart in 2020, we've got to look out for new possibilities. The second L, which is the 6th principle, is your language. If you're going to be somebody who is going to be outstanding, who is going to outsmart in situations, your language has to change. The language of whining, the language of complaining, the language of griping, the language of talking about the problem, the language of constantly berating your leaders, the language of seeing only the problems in a situation rather than speaking about that which you want to see and create and attract, will have to be the language that you want to put on in this year 2020 and beyond. So L stands for language. Let your language be a language of positivity. Let your language be a language of purpose. Let your language speak from the place of the future that you desire to create for yourself, for your business, for your community, for your society, and for the world, rather than the language of problems. Let your language be the language that brings hope into situations. Let your language be a language that puts you in a position where people say, oh my goodness, who is that person? Who is that leader? Who is that entrepreneur? Who is that mother? Who is that wife? Who is that friend? She constantly is bringing hope into a situation. She's constantly speaking from a place of power. She's constantly bringing purpose into situations. I want you to be the person who brings peace into situations in 2020. If we've seen anything, we've seen that humanity binds all of us, that we are all humans at the end of the day, and there is no one who cannot be encouraged by your words. So you've got to mind your language. It's never been more important. Do not be found amongst the gripers and the hopeless, those who speak hopelessness in situations. The next principle that I'd like to share with you as I begin to wrap up is another letter, E. Now, E in this situation stands for embracing change. I've talked about creativity and I'm coming back to it again. This time I'm talking about it from the perspective of embracing change. Those who are going to stand out are those who understand that change is constant. including change that is unprecedented. In business, we talk about the VUCA principle, that, we've entered a situation where things are volatile, things are uncertain, things are complex, things are ambiguous. And no matter what situation, even if you had all those situations, volatility, uncertainty, complexity, ambiguity, you want to become the person who masters the ability to adapt in the midst of change. Not only adapt, but actually embrace change when change happens, including complex change. If you are going to stand out in business, in your industry, if you're going to stand out in your career, I want to challenge you to begin to embrace change. Listen, businesses are changing a lot within their premises. Do not be the person who arrives at your gate and you're complaining because now things have changed. Do not be the person who is griping because the environment has changed. And guess what? The reason why this key is so important, especially now, is because change is going to continue for the foreseeable future. General change, but now I'm talking about complex change. I'm talking about change that is very rapid. You have to prepare yourself to be the kind of leader, the kind of woman, the kind of professional who actually embraces change, so that change, as it were, does not destroy you and put you as one of the people who has runs in this situation. You want to be the person who masters change rather than the person who complains about change. The next principle, which is the 8th principle, is the letter N. This is one of my favorite principles in these power principles that I'm sharing with you on how to outsmart 2020 and to stand out in your business and in your career in this year and in this decade. And that letter N stands for never give up. Never give up. It was Winston Churchill who said, whatever you do, we will never, ever, ever, ever give up. That is the posture of the person who will outsmart life. Never, ever, ever give up. It is the position of resilience, because guess what? Especially as women, we have so much constantly coming at us. So many situations that cause us to want to stop. But this principle, I want you to remember it on an ongoing basis. I want you to remember, and if you don't remember anything else, never, ever, ever give up. Life will happen to you. Situations will arise. You will be tried. You will be challenged. Business will be tough. Yes, we are in business unusual environment. We are in life unusual environment, but you must determine never, ever to give up. Be the person who says, and I'm holding on to you. I'm going to stand. I'm going to be resilient, and I'm going to advance in the midst of challenges and in the midst of adversity. These keys that I'm sharing with you, if you take them to heart, if you act on them, you will absolutely transform your life and be in a position to, as it were, be outstanding and to outplay whatever it is that comes your way in this season. The next principle that I'd like to share is the C principle, and C stands for courage. There's never been a time where courage was critical. Courage is the ability to stare fear and danger and challenges in the face and say, I've got this, and you have got this. You've got this because you would have developed your vision. You've got this because you are ready to go the extra mile. Why are you ready to go the extra mile? You're ready to go the extra mile because you are a woman of purpose. You're ready to go the extra mile because you're a woman of expansive vision. You're ready to go the extra mile because you're a woman who is enthusiastic about life and about your contributions to life. So courage is going to be required for you to make the difference in life. Courage is required for you to accomplish those lofty goals that you started 2020 with. Courage is going to be required when you're going to have to take a pay cut, even if you're a business owner, for a season just so that you can advance your business. Courage is required sometimes to say no. And the woman who is going to be outstanding in 2020 has got to develop courage. Courage of character, courage to stand, courage to be the lone voice when everybody else says yes to the wrong thing, you are able to take a stand and say, I say no, and I'm willing to be the lone voice. The final principle I'd like to share with you is with the letter E. And these 10 principles, I would like you to tell me what they come to, because that is the word that you're going to need to hold on to if you are going to be outstanding in 2020 and embrace all your dreams. And that final principle in letter E stands for empower and encourage. It's never been more important to connect with the rest of humanity by empowering one another, by reaching out to the next woman, by being the woman who says, I am not going to be an enemy to my sister. I'm not going to be an enemy to the men, because together we can accomplish so much more in the world. You want to be the woman, you want to be the female leader who is looking for ways to contribute to other people, to the people beside you, the people behind you, the people on top of you, people all around you. Every single person you see is battling through something. So you want to be the person who is encouraging, who is empowering, who is giving, who is smiling. You want to be the person who is speaking those words and who is lending that hand of help, even when you have your own struggles. If you apply these 10 power principles, EXCELLENCE, that is excellence. Excellence is always a winning formula. I encourage you to raise your standards in quest of excellence if you want to outsmart in 2020. And I know you can absolutely do it. There's no black or white, no male or female when it comes to outsmart, being a smart leader. There is no black or white. Can you stop and start? Or should I just go ahead?
Okay, start again.
Okay. There is no black or white. There's no male or female. Okay. There is no black or white. There is no male or female. Excellence rules the world. The world has witnessed, especially Africa, we've seen enough mediocrity in leadership, in business, in society. I want you to become the woman who stands up, who outshines and outsmarts others by applying these 10 power principles of excellence. Go out and be excellent. Thank you very much. And once again, I'm truly delighted to have been chosen and to have been invited to give this keynote speech at Outsmart 2020, hosted by Flourish Africa. Thank you once again for inviting me. Have an amazing day and God bless you.